If you actually want to grow your small business the right way in 2026, you have to understand how not to do it. Because the truth is, most people completely fail at this, myself included. Now, I've done 200k in the last 9 months with my own businesses, and I've done that the hard way. But I've also gone down the rabbit hole to truly understand the easiest path to financial freedom. And these are the 3 things that nobody talks about. The first one is scaling your business with cold outreach to get customers. When most people start their business, they spend hours doing cold outreach, setting meetings that go nowhere, and sometimes even cold calling to try get some business. Because it can get you clients fast, but is it actually healthy for your mindset to be constantly on that hamster wheel? And does it actually work long term? It's definitely not, and it's probably one of the most soul-sucking things that you can do. I should know because I've lived and breathed this. Because although it might be a great way to get started, eventually you will become burnt out and it'll make you want to quit the business that you actually started to get financial freedom in the first place. When I first started my agency, all I did was cold outreach. I was sending DMs, I was sending follow-ups, I was building lists, trawling LinkedIn. Days and nights were spent commenting on people's posts, sending WhatsApp follow-ups, etc. Only to just get a reply back like, I'll think about it. Or I'd end up sending a contract into the abyss and never hear back. Does that sound familiar to you? Probably sounds familiar to some of you guys as well, right? I essentially gave myself a higher earning job that required me to be there pretty much 24/7. So if I was starting again, I would definitely use YouTube. Now, not to build an audience or to become a YouTuber by any means, because that's not the goal, but to build loyalty, trust, and attract clients inbound that want to work with me. Because it allows you to build loyalty and trust through your content, and people essentially come to you looking for your service, rather than you outreaching to them. But trust isn't the only factor as to why I would use YouTube. The difference also lies in the scalability. With cold outreach, one input simply equals one output. But with YouTube, one input can equal 1,000 or 1,000,000 output. And it's super important to have leverage in mind when wanting to grow a business of any kind. Now, don't get me wrong, there have been great businesses built on cold outreach. It's just a lot more difficult and it requires you to scale a team through people and hiring if you want to get past a certain level. So how do you know what type of content to start making if you're caught on that outreach hamster wheel? Well, that's actually the easy bit. First, you look at your target customer that you're usually selling to within your business. You then look at their pain points and why they would need your product in the first place, and you make content around that. And with each video you make, your customer feels that they've had a micro transformation, which allows them to build loyalty and trust along the way. Which is why number 2 is so important, and it can be the difference between getting stuck in that 9 to 5 grind forever or breaking through to the next level. And it's not posting videos the same as everybody else within your niche. Most people just look at what others are doing and they simply copy them. Because let's be honest, most of the population lack the creativity to come up with something new or unique themselves. But how can we create unique content that drives leads into our business? Well, from studying hundreds of the best creators online, I've found this is actually quite simple. YouTube is vast, so there's guaranteed to be somebody in your niche currently making content and driving inbound leads into their business. Essentially, what you have to do is you need to look at what they're doing, take the concept and put your own unique spin on it, because it's the concept that made them successful. For example, you might see someone with a similar business model to yourself creating talking head content about a very specific topic that's getting a lot of traction for them. You can make a similar format video, but for your target customers' pain points. So to confirm, you need to observe people's content in the same niche as yourself. Analyze the content that's doing well for them. Take their strategy, video topics, video format, and put your own unique spin on it using your expertise. At this point, you have 50% of the recipe to start growing your business through online content. But without this next thing, you won't get any sales. And it's content offer misalignment. Because most people think they need lots of subscribers to start selling on YouTube. Because that's pretty much what we've been told. Or better yet, lots of views. But imagine being able to grow a thriving business through just making online videos while raking in more money than some of the top creators on YouTube, all while pulling in a fraction of the subscribers and views that they have. Well, from what I've seen from many other small channels on YouTube, this is not only possible, but it's actually realistic. And it's done through something called attracting a focused audience. Because most people think views and subscribers lead to money. The thing is though, that's rarely the case. What you really need is to focus on a hyper-specific audience, which is basically going to be the customer that you usually sell to in your business. And you need to make hyper-focused content for that audience on their pain points. You also then need to have an offer that directly aligns to the content that you're making. For example, let's say you make videos about how to grow an AI agency. Your offer, therefore, should directly relate to helping people grow an AI agency. Because when you do this, everything flows, and the natural progression is for them to buy your next thing so they can complete their transformation. The viewer digests your videos, gets micro transformations along the way, and then if they want the complete transformation done fast, they'll buy your thing. They'll buy your offer. So even if you have 0 subscribers, you can start today and slowly work your way towards a great business, all inbound through content. And there's countless examples of this all over YouTube right now. There's people making millions a year with only a few thousand subscribers, or even less than that. Now there's this one last thing that's going to bother some people, but without it, you're not going to make it. And that's preparing to fail before you start, but not how you might think. You see, everyone always has these huge big goals and ambitions to start something big. So they get really excited and are full of optimism at the start, because our brains are simply wired this way, and that's how I am too. But our optimism quickly fades and comes crashing down when we realize soon how hard it's going to be and how long it's going to take to create video content. So how do we skip this phase of despair? Well, we can't, but we can train our brains to handle it better for sure. And doing this means we can follow through and hit our goals every time. And there's a killer way to do this. So let's say you start posting videos to drive sales to your business. You get a couple of sales through, but then you go through this long learning curve on how to break through before you actually get the financial freedom that you wanted. To avoid disappointment, you really need to set your expectations from the start, because those feelings you get when you think, oh, this will never work, that's just simply your expectations not meeting reality. It's that gap between expectations and reality. So to avoid disappointment, you really need to set your expectations low from the start. And when you set your expectations low, it'll really allow you to think logically and keep a level head for next steps. You also need to have a plan when things don't work out right away. And these are the key differences that separate successful people from unsuccessful people. But how do you know when to quit? Well, if you truly enjoy what you're doing, and you follow a successful framework, it's only a matter of time before you see success. So instead of thinking about how to quit, think about how to get through the tough times. And well, if you watch this next video somewhere around here, there's going to be some great tactics on how to get there in half the time.